Hi everyone, this is Sean once again. Thank you so much for watching all of my YouTube videos. Thank you so much for the interaction. I'm still getting a lot of laughs from some of the other videos that I've posted the other week. You guys just crack me up. So keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming. If you have any questions for any other content, I'll try my best to give you a video. I respond to about 90% of those who ask me questions or have some type of comment to make. You can even make a comment if it's constructive criticism. I will respond to those as well. As long as it's respectful, I will respond back to you also in a respectful tone. So today's video, I want to talk about private security guard jobs out there where you actually get to exercise peace officer powers. And this is the state of this is inside the state of California. As for other states, I don't know if there are states where you are able to exercise peace officer powers or federal powers. I am not sure about that. What I am sure is the state of California, because that's where I'm in. So one of the first places where you are a private security guard and you get to exercise actually federal authority is with the U.S. Marshals. U.S. Marshals actually has a contract for private security, and that private security guard is stationed at the front of the courthouse. And what they end up doing is they screen you for weapons. They do a little screening on you, and if you don't have any weapons, you're not a danger to the judge or the staff, and they let you go through the metal detectors. And after that, if you're clear, then you go. One of the requirements for that is one of a few things, and sometimes it does change. If you are interested in that type of position, make sure that you just perhaps do a Google search. Go to LinkedIn.com. LinkedIn.com. They have they have these opportunities out there. I'm also on LinkedIn under Sean Sundahl. You check me out there as well and connect with me if you have any other questions. But for the most part, you need a few things. Number one, I've seen that you would need some type of military training, and your MOS would be military police. So I've seen that there. There's an or option, so you can have that training or a basic police academy in the state of California, some type of basic police certification, and that's number two. And then number three is graduation from a state correctional academy. So it's somewhere in these categories. Now, I might be wrong on some of the particularities that I just discussed right now. So if you are interested in that position, you're going to have to do a Google search. I don't have any links for you, and look at that. But anyhow, you actually have the authority. You get sworn in as a U.S. Marshal, and you get limited authority. With limited federal authority comes the ability to have higher wages. So your pay is about, and I could be wrong here, but in California I've seen posts where they pay about $35 to $40 an hour, full benefits, and they have a 401k program. So it appears to be a really good assignment. So again, you're private security, but on duty you are a sworn U.S. Marshal. Your uniform, I think it's private security. Now, historically, the U.S. Marshals would provide that type of security screening, but it looks like that they want to tie themselves up in other endeavors that are within the U.S. Marshals, and not a lot of people want to do screening. So that's a contract assignment. Now, there's some universities that I'm going to mention, and you need to have completed a basic police academy. And if you have a basic police academy, they're going to want you to have the guard card. They're going to want you to have a firearm permit as well, and also a baton permit. There's one school here, which I will name, which is Chapman University. They are not armed, but you will need a baton permit. I think you're allowed to carry a baton. But these three schools, you have to have a basic, and I think it's level 1 police academy, and obviously fact check what I'm saying. If you're really interested in the job, fact check, see what you need. But as far as I know, University of San Diego. This is not University of California, San Diego. This is USD, University of San Diego. This is a private university in San Diego. You get limited peace officer powers. You are private security, but you have these powers. And I'll tell you in a minute what these powers entail. USC, University of Southern California, they have the Department of Public Safety, and they They are private security, but they are sworn, and they have limited peace officer powers while on duty, and they're able to exercise peace officer powers 1 mile outside of the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. Then you have Chapman University, which is located in Orange. Again, there's some type of agreement. I believe in that agreement was with I think it's Orange Police Department, and again you have limited peace officer authority. Now all these three universities that I mentioned, they pay higher than normal. At USC, I think the best pay out of all of these universities is probably USC. But again, you need to go through a basic police academy, and you have to pass an extensive background investigation as well. You got to go through the psych test, medical, so on and so forth. In my police academy in 2001, I attended 2001, graduated 2002. We had one fellow. I think his last name was Gonzalez. Very awesome guy. He actually ended up becoming a chief for another. He left USC. He was on the command staff over there, and then he went to another private university, and he was the chief of public safety over there. Right now, he's at Chapman University. I think he's a second or third in command, but he has it well made there. I believe he also has a PhD, so you can't just be any ordinary person with just a guard card and expect to be the chief of Chapman University. He has a PhD. Very, very smart guy. Ricardo, that was his name. Ricardo Gonzalez. I love the guy. Good buddies back in the police academy, Rio Hondo Police Academy. So, what your peace officer powers are is as follows. So basically, peace officers, they get to make arrest for misdemeanors committed in their presence and felonies that are not committed in their presence, as long as they have reasonable cause, probable cause to believe that a particular person is engaged in a certain crime, and there has to be for certain that crime actually occurred. And private citizens actually have that same authority, but with peace officers, there's a list of misdemeanors where they can make an arrest without observing the crime in their presence. Now, with these crimes, they revolve around the lines of domestic violence, weapons violations, in particular, brandishing a firearm or other deadly weapon. Those types of crimes, they can make an arrest even though it's not committed in their presence. And you also have there's a list of other crimes. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now. So there's domestic violence, there's the weapons violations, and I believe maybe some of the truancy laws. But what you're able to do, in addition to that, is you're able to detain somebody who's suspected of committing a crime. See, in California, as a private security officer, you cannot detain somebody who's suspected of committing a crime. You have to arrest them. So that means you have to go forth with the whole entire process. You have to want to have charges pressed. Obviously, we know that the prosecutor is the one that pressed charges, but you're going to have to sign the private person's arrest complaint form. You got to go through the whole process. You can't just say, "Oh, never mind, I changed my mind." Now, in California, you're also allowed to use reasonable force to arrest somebody, but if you end up letting somebody go and not going forth with the charges, that force could possibly be invalidated. So that's something that you're going to have to look into with your legal counsel. But you do not have the right to detain somebody. And the difference between a detention and arrest is more or less as follows. So a detention, you're preventing movement from somebody. So that person cannot go somewhere else. They're not free to leave while you investigate a crime. You make sure that a crime did in fact occur, and this person is or is not responsible. And there's a possibility that if they're not responsible, you don't find that connection, that evidence, and you let them go. With an arrest, you are depriving them of freedom, just like a detention, but you're actually going forth with all of the motions. So you're placing this person under arrest, you're booking them in to jail, you're sending the report over to the prosecutor's office and desiring that the prosecutor go forth and press charges, and this person is processed through the criminal justice system. So that's what the difference is. Private security, one of the only exemptions where they can actually detain somebody in California is anything under the merchant privilege rule. So if you are assigned private security to a particular store, okay, you're actually on the contract and you observed, or actually you have, you, we'll put it this way, um, you have good reason to believe that somebody stole something. Maybe you were watching on the CCTV, you saw them steal something, or you have that reasonable cause. You could detain somebody for just a temporary amount of time, brief amount of time, while you determine whether or not they stole something. That's one of the only exceptions to detentions in California. But if you have peace officer status, you can detain somebody and then let them go. So if you work for USD, USC, Chapman University, you're able to do that. Now, whether or not their policy allows you to do what I just mentioned, I don't know. I'm not positive, but they're able to. Under California state law, they're able to. Again, I don't work for any of these agencies, but they're able to. And these agencies, I think I just mentioned not too long ago, they're actually deputized by the local agencies, and that's how their authority is deprived. Now, one of the last fields that I want to talk about is campus safety. What you need, some campuses will require a guard card, some will not. See, when you work for a government agency, there's actually an actual government agency, including a government subdivision like a school district. The school district does not have to abide by the BSIS rules, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services. If you're new to the channel, you don't know what BSIS is, or you're from another state, they are the regulatory arm for private security professionals who do contract work and who are assigned to in-house private employment. So as a government agency, a school district, they don't need to abide by the BSIS rules, guidelines, or the Business and Professions Code. However, there's a Senate bill that came out about 15, 16 years ago. Well, this was 2005, I believe. And if you want to work for a school district, you have to complete 3 days of school security or school police training. So that's the minimum standard that you're going to need to work at a school. And I'm telling you, the benefits, there's a lot of good benefits for working at a school district. You're actually placed up here on the economic scale with security. So contract security, most of the time your pay is usually here, sometimes benefits. As for 401k, retirement, maybe, possibly, but many times no. But then campus security for like a school district, K through 12, a lot of times they'll pay for retirement. I think you become a member of CalPERS or CalSTRS, and I'm a member of both actually. But anyhow, there's a defined benefit program, which means you put in a certain number of years of service at the age of, I don't know what the current age anymore. I think it might be 60 or 62. You get a set salary for life, and it's typically, depending how many years you put in, it's typically a lot more, significantly more than Social Security. You get health benefits, and you're well taken care of if you get into campus security. So that's something good. The only thing is you got to be very good with children, be able to work with those adolescents. Okay. If you're wondering what the benefits of USD, USC, Chapman University are, the benefits you get. So for Chapman University, I know that if you put in a certain number of years, you can actually attend Chapman University at very little cost to no cost. You can get different types of degrees over there, and that's the benefit. So I worked at a school. I worked at Brightwood College, formerly Kaplan College, and they were I want to say a parent group of Kaplan University, which Purdue University Global bought them up. So that's where I got my master's, and it was all paid for by the college. I worked for them, and I got a 100% scholarship. So that's where I got my master's. It was in public administration, but it was worth it. I mean, that degree, it would cost about $30,000, you guys. It was a lot of money. So let's just say that you have children, or you expect to have children. You put in your time at these schools. It could be 3 years, 4 years, I don't know, or maybe 5, or maybe 10. I don't know what the amount of tenure you need. A lot of the school or significant or percentage is paid for at USD, USC, and Chapman University. So that's why somebody would want to go through all that work to a police academy, put in all that time and effort, and graduate in this in the same academy where other people attend, where they get sworn officer powers, full time and off duty. They go to these, they put themselves through the hell of the academy so that they can get these benefits later on, maybe for themselves or for their children. And the retirement system, again, it's it's better than Social Security. Okay, so these are the options. If you want to work private security, or you want to make, actually, if you want to make it a career, or maybe if you're wondering what types of positions you would have peace officer powers, there's another security department, or a private security company in downtown Los Angeles. You guys who are assigned in in Los Angeles, maybe you know about this more than I, or maybe some of you who are former LAPD or retired LAPD officers. But I talked to this gentleman about 7, 8 years ago, and he said that he worked private security. He's a former or retired LAPD. He was shot with a 357 Magnum in his femur bone. I just have to mention that he was an honorably retired guy. Um, was shot on duty. LAPD had to retire because of that, and he worked for the security company, and he's able to issue the different types of citations. Normally, you would need peace officer powers for. That security company has an agreement with the Los Angeles Police Department. So definitely, definitely seek out that information if you're interested. With that company, I have no idea what company it is. I don't know if the information he gave me was valid. It seemed like it was valid. He seemed like a trustworthy, honest person. And police departments are able to do that. They're able to give you limited peace officer powers if the chief agrees to it in a memorandum. However, when the chief agrees to something like that, the the chief in a way agrees to accept some type of liability unless there's an addendum to that. So it's something that chiefs usually don't do. But hey, if you're a chief and a chief of police or sheriff, and this school is causing you a headache because you keep getting calls, might not be a bad idea to deputize these security officers if they are trained. One last agency I want to talk about is MTA Security, Metropolitan Transit Authority. They're formerly RTD Police. My uncle actually was a RTD police officer in the 80s and 90s. He loved the job. My uncle mentored me into a field of law enforcement. But anyhow, he worked for the agency because of politics. The RTD Transit Police disbanded, and now they're MTA. And I see MTA security, and I think that the requirements are the same like USC or USD. I think you need the guard card. I believe that you need some type of academy training. It might actually be level 3 or level 2. Um, Whenever I say level 2 or 3, I'm mentioning different parts of the academy. These are sub parts, so you may not have to complete the whole academy or complete an 832 penal code course, which is arrest and firearms, and I think that course is about 40 or 56 hours. Anyhow, you got to complete that course, have all your hours as a guard, and there's actually there was a bill that was written by one of the assemblymen about 8 years ago, and they wanted to give them limited peace officer authority for those who don't pay the transit fare. But I'm not too sure what happened to that bill. But you did need to have, I think, a level 2 or 3. You guys, I see them in all kinds of law enforcement training. I see them in post peace officer standards and training, certified pistol courses, the trainer, the instructor courses. I see them in there. I've found one in the background investigator school that I attended in 2020, 2011. I got the dates all mixed up, but there was somebody there who was a transit authority. I think he was the security department, but they were learning on how to do backgrounds on their employees. So it's just crazy to see them go from a police department disband because of politics, and then now they're security, and they're doing almost the same thing that they used to do, except they have they have the Sheriff's Department, LA Sheriff's Department, and they have LAPD as backup if they even need it. And I actually forgot one other agency. There's a security company that patrols a trolley in San Diego. I don't know the name of it. I did have a friend that worked for them, and I believe that he did have limited peace officer authority, and that authority was the ability to write citations for transit fare violators. And my friend did have some. He did have, actually he had level 1, 2, and 3. So he had complete police academy. Another buddy of mine, I think he may have just had the level 3, and they took him that way. But anyhow, they're able to issue citations, and they respond to almost all of the calls for service. They're fully armed. The pay isn't too good. I want to say I think it's Heritage Security, and they have limited deputization by the San Diego Police Department or the San Diego Sheriff's Department. I may be a little bit mistaken on that, but if you have any information on any of these agencies that I just mentioned, security companies, please let us know. I hope this video helps you understand that you can have some limited authority. With limited authority comes the potential that you might be sued, or your company might be sued for violating one's civil rights, because you're executing a government function. So you got to be a little bit careful with that. But with that potential liability comes usually higher pay, the higher wages, medical benefits, retirement benefits. For me, I think it's worth it. That's all I have. You guys be blessed every day, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Please do not forget to press the like button. Take care.